Unveiling the energy vampire. Hey listener, let's dive into something that hits close to home. Those people who leave you feeling drained, like they've sucked the life out of you. You know them, energy vampires. Carl Jung, the Swiss master of the psyche, didn't use that term, but his ideas about the shadow explain exactly what's going on. His insights are like a flashlight, exposing the hidden forces behind these draining dynamics. The title says it all. Carl Jung exposes the shadow behind every energy vampire. So what's the shadow, and why does it turn someone into an energy vampire? Jung described the shadow as the parts of ourselves we hide. Our fears, insecurities, or desires we're ashamed of. For an energy vampire, their shadow might be a deep need for validation, a fear of being alone, or unacknowledged anger. They don't face these truths, so they project them onto others, draining your energy to fill their own voids. Think about that coworker who's always complaining, pulling you into their negativity, or the friend who monopolizes every conversation with their drama. They're not evil. They're acting out their shadow, unconsciously seeking what they lack. Jung believed we all have a shadow, but when it's ignored, it grows powerful, driving behaviors that hurt others. Energy vampires are often unaware of this. They're caught in their own unconscious patterns. Maybe they feel powerless, so they control conversations to feel important. Or they're lonely, so they cling, leaving you exhausted. The shadow isn't just personal, it's tied to the collective unconscious, the shared patterns of human behavior. Society's pressure to seem perfect pushes people to bury their flaws, making the shadow fester. Jung's process of individuation, becoming your true self, requires facing the shadow, but energy vampires haven't done that work. Their draining behavior is a cry from their unconscious, a signal they're out of balance. This isn't about blaming them. Understanding their shadow helps you protect your own energy. When you see their behavior as a reflection of their inner struggle, you can respond with clarity, not resentment. So listener, let's take a breath. Have you met an energy vampire? Let's explore what Jung reveals about their shadow and how it affects you. The shadow's hidden drive. Let's zoom in on the shadow and why it fuels energy vampires. Jung taught that the shadow holds everything we reject about ourselves. Our insecurities, anger, or needs we think are wrong. For an energy vampire, their shadow is like a hungry ghost, demanding attention they don't know how to give themselves. They might crave love, but fear rejection, so they manipulate or dominate to feel secure. They don't see this, it's unconscious, which is why it's so draining. Imagine a family member who's always critical, picking at your choices. Their shadow might be self-doubt. They criticize to feel better about themselves. Or picture someone who's overly needy, texting you at all hours. Their shadow could be loneliness they've never faced. Jung said the shadow grows stronger when ignored, leaking out in ways that affect others. Energy vampires drain you because they're trying to fill a hole they don't acknowledge. This ties to projection, Jung's idea that we cast our shadow onto others. If they're jealous but won't admit it, they might accuse you of being selfish, pulling you into their emotional storm. Their shadow isn't just personal, it's shaped by the collective unconscious. Society tells us to hide weakness, so they bury their pain, only for it to emerge as clinginess or negativity. Jung's goal of individuation means integrating the shadow, but energy vampires haven't started that journey. They're stuck, and their shadow seeks energy from you to compensate. This isn't about them being bad. They're human, struggling like we all do. But their unconscious behavior can leave you feeling heavy, tired, or even guilty for pulling away. Understanding this helps you see their actions as symptoms, not personal attacks. You might notice that their drama isn't about you, it's their shadow talking. This clarity is power. It lets you step back without anger. Jung would say you can't fix their shadow, but you can protect your own light. Ask, who in my life drains me? What might their shadow be hiding? Maybe it's insecurity, fear, or shame. Seeing this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it frees you from taking it personally. You start to respond with boundaries, not blame. For example, if someone's always venting, you might listen for a moment, then gently redirect. This isn't cold, it's self-care. Jung's wisdom here is about recognizing the shadow's role, so you can stay whole. So listener, what's one draining dynamic you're ready to rethink? Let's keep going. How energy vampires drain you. Now, let's talk about the toll energy vampires take on you. Jung's lens shows that their shadow doesn't just stay with them, it reaches out, pulling at your energy. When someone's shadow is unchecked, it creates a kind of psychic vacuum, drawing you in to fill their unconscious needs. Think about that friend who always needs reassurance, leaving you emotionally spent. Their shadow, maybe a fear of worthlessness, seeks your validation, but no amount is enough. Or consider a boss who micromanages, making you feel small. Their shadow might be anxiety about control, but you end up drained, doubting yourself. Jung's concept of projection explains this. They push their unacknowledged feelings onto you, making you carry their emotional load. You might feel guilty, angry, or just exhausted, like you're running on empty. This isn't just in your head, your body feels it too. Maybe your shoulders tense, or you're tired after a short talk. Jung would say this is your psyche responding to their shadow's demand. The collective unconscious plays a role here too. Society's myths, like always being nice or helpful, make you feel obligated to engage, even when it costs you. If you're on the path of individuation, this drain pulls you off course, keeping you from your true self. Energy vampires don't mean to harm. They're often unaware, trapped in their own shadow. But their behavior can hook you, especially if your own shadow has similar wounds. For example, if you fear rejection, you might overgive to a needy person, hoping to be liked. Jung called this a complex, an emotional pattern triggered by their shadow. The result? You lose energy, focus, and even joy. You might notice you're less creative, more irritable, or avoiding things you love. Recognizing this is the first step to reclaiming your power. Ask, how do I feel after being with this person? Do I feel lifted or heavy? If it's heavy, their shadow is likely at play. Jung's wisdom isn't about cutting people off. It's about awareness. You can't change their shadow, but you can choose how to respond. Maybe you limit time with them or redirect their negativity with a calm boundary. This protects your energy without guilt. It's like putting on an oxygen mask before helping others. You need to breathe to thrive. Over time, you'll spot energy vampires faster, sensing their shadow before it pulls you in. This is part of individuation, living from your center, not others' needs. So, listener, who's one person that leaves you drained? Let's explore how to handle it. Spotting the vampire's shadow. Let's get practical. How do you spot an energy vampire's shadow in action? Jung's insights give us a map to recognize their patterns, so you're not caught off guard. Energy vampires often show up in predictable ways, driven by their unintegrated shadow. One sign is emotional monopolization. They dominate conversations, focusing on their problems or needs. Maybe it's a friend who vents endlessly, barely asking about you. Their shadow might be loneliness or insecurity, seeking your attention to feel whole. Another sign is negativity. They complain, criticize, or see the worst in everything. Jung would say their shadow holds unacknowledged anger or fear, which they project outward, dragging you down. Then there's manipulation, guilt-tripping, flattery, or subtle demands to keep you engaged. Think of someone who says, "You're the only one I can talk to," making you feel responsible. Their shadow might be a fear of abandonment, pulling you in to soothe it. Jung's concept of the collective unconscious adds depth here. Society's pressure to hide weakness makes these behaviors common. People bury their shame or pain, only for it to leak as draining habits. You might also notice inconsistency. They're charming one moment, cold the next. This reflects a shadow they haven't faced, like inner chaos they project onto you. To spot these, tune into your feelings. Jung said your psyche is a guide. Do you feel tense, tired, or trapped around them? That's a clue their shadow's at work. Ask, what's the pattern here? Maybe they always interrupt, or their emergencies feel staged. Don't judge, just observe. This aligns with Jung's call to stay conscious, not reactive. Your own shadow can make spotting harder. If you fear conflict, you might tolerate their drain to avoid a fight. Jung's individuation means noticing your patterns too. Try this. For a week, note interactions that leave you drained. Write down what they did and how you felt. Patterns will emerge, like someone who always needs rescuing. This isn't about labeling them vampires, it's about seeing their shadow clearly. Once you do, you can respond, not react. For example, if they're negative, you might say, "I hear you, but let's talk about something positive." This sets a boundary without blame. Jung believed awareness is power. You can't control their shadow, but you can protect your light. Over time, you'll get better at sensing these dynamics early, saving your energy for what matters. This is your journey to wholeness, listener, and it starts with seeing clearly. So what's one draining behavior you've noticed? Let's keep peeling back the layers. Protecting your energy. Now that you see the shadow behind energy vampires, how do you protect yourself? Jung's teachings are all about individuation, staying true to your center, even when others pull at you. Protecting your energy doesn't mean shutting people out. It means setting boundaries that honor your psyche. First, listen to your body and emotions. Jung said they're your unconscious speaking. If you feel heavy or tired after being with someone, that's a signal their shadow is draining you. Don't ignore it. Ask, what's this feeling telling me? Maybe you need less time with them or a different approach. Boundaries are key. If someone's always venting, you might say, "I can listen for a few minutes, then I need to focus." This is kind, not cruel. It respects both of you. Jung's concept of the persona comes in here. Don't let your nice mask keep you from saying no. Your energy is sacred, and guarding it is part of becoming whole. Another tool is grounding, connecting to your own psyche before or after draining interactions. Try a quick ritual. Take 5 deep breaths, picturing your energy as a glowing light. This centers you, making it harder for their shadow to pull you in. Jung also loved active imagination. Picture a shield around you, deflecting their negativity. It sounds woo-woo, but it's a way to strengthen your psychic boundaries. If their behavior triggers your own shadow, like guilt for pulling away, notice it. Ask, why do I feel this? Maybe you fear being selfish, a belief from the collective unconscious that praises self-sacrifice. Jung would say, challenge that. Protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. Practical steps help too. Limit contact where possible, shorten calls, avoid one-on-one time, or redirect conversations to neutral topics. If they're manipulative, stay calm and don't engage emotionally. For example, if they guilt-trip you, respond with, "I hear you, but I can't take that on." This keeps you detached from their shadow's hook. Over time, these boundaries become second nature. You'll feel lighter, with more energy for what you love. Jung's goal was a balanced psyche, and guarding your energy supports that. You might even inspire the vampire to face their shadow, though that's not your job. Focus on your journey. Individuation means choosing you, not fixing others. Try this. Pick one draining person and set one boundary this week. Notice how it feels. You're not just protecting energy, you're claiming your power. So listener, what's one boundary you're ready to try? Let's keep building your strength. The role of your own shadow. Here's a twist. Your own shadow plays a role in energy vampire dynamics. Jung taught that we all have a shadow. Parts of ourselves we hide, like fears or needs we're ashamed of. When an energy vampire drains you, it's often because their shadow hooks into yours. Let's say you feel obligated to help a needy friend, even when it exhausts you. Your shadow might hold a fear of being bad or unlovable, making you overgive to prove your worth. Jung's concept of projection works both ways. They project their shadow, and you might project yours, seeing them as needy because you deny your own needs. This creates a cycle where their drain feels personal. Facing your shadow is key to breaking free. Ask, why do I let this person drain me? Maybe you avoid conflict because your shadow fears rejection, or you feel guilty saying no because your shadow holds shame. Jung's individuation means owning these parts, not hiding them. For example, if you're always strong for others, your shadow might hold vulnerability you've buried. An energy vampire's neediness pulls at that, making you resent them when really you're resisting your own needs. Try journaling. What feelings come up around this person? Do I see those in myself? If their negativity bugs you, maybe you've suppressed your own frustration. Jung said what irritates us in others often mirrors our shadow. Facing this isn't about blame, it's about clarity. By owning your shadow, you weaken their hook. You might realize you don't have to save them because your worth isn't tied to their approval. This takes courage. Admitting you're not always kind or strong can feel raw. But Jung said the shadow is where growth happens. Try active imagination. Picture your shadow as a character, like a scared child or angry warrior. Ask, what do you need? Maybe it's rest or permission to say no. This integration makes you less vulnerable to energy vampires. You'll notice their shadow less because you're not feeding the cycle. For example, if you own your need for approval, you might stop over-giving to a manipulative person, setting a firm boundary instead. This is individuation in action, living from your truth, not reactions. Over time, you'll feel stronger, less drained, because you're whole, not split. This work connects you to the collective unconscious, where we all share these struggles. So listener, what's one shadow trait you're ready to face? Let's reclaim your power. Dreams and the vampire's shadow. Jung saw dreams as a window to the unconscious, and they're a powerful tool for understanding energy vampires. When someone's shadow is draining you, your psyche often speaks through dreams, revealing what's happening beneath the surface. Let's say you dream of being chased or trapped. That might reflect an energy vampire's pull, their shadow overwhelming you. Or you might dream of a dark figure, symbolizing their unacknowledged pain. Jung's concept of the collective unconscious means these symbols aren't just personal. They tap into universal human experiences, like the struggle for boundaries. When you pay attention to dreams, you see the vampire's shadow clearly. Try this. Keep a dream journal for a week, noting any images or emotions tied to draining people. Maybe you dream of a friend who's always complaining, but in the dream, they're a storm cloud. That's your unconscious saying their negativity is consuming you. Ask, what's this dream telling me? Maybe it's urging you to set limits. Jung's technique of active imagination can deepen this. Revisit the dream awake, picture that storm cloud, and ask, what do you want? You might uncover their shadow's need, like validation, or your own shadow's fear, like guilt for pulling away. Dreams also show your psyche's response. If you dream of fighting back or escaping, that's your unconscious pushing for empowerment. Jung believed dreams don't just reflect, they guide. A dream of standing firm might inspire you to say no in real life. If dreams feel intense, a Jungian therapist can help, but you can start solo. Write down every detail, colors, feelings, symbols. Over time, patterns emerge, like recurring images of being drained. This aligns with individuation, using dreams to integrate your shadow and stay true to yourself. For example, if you dream of a vampire-like figure, it might mirror a person's clinginess, but also your own buried need for space. Facing this in dreams helps you face it awake, maybe limiting contact with that person. Dreams also connect you to the collective, showing you're not alone in these dynamics. As you work with them, dreams might shift, less chaos, more calm, signaling your psyche's healing. This isn't just about energy vampires, it's about claiming your inner world. So listener, what's a dream you've had that feels tied to a draining person? Let's see what it reveals. Transforming the dynamic. What happens when you face the shadow behind an energy vampire? Jung's vision of individuation comes alive. You transform the dynamic, not just endure it. By seeing their shadow and yours, you shift from being drained to being empowered. This doesn't mean changing them. Their shadow is their work. It means changing how you engage, protecting your energy, and staying true to yourself. Let's say a co-worker's constant complaints drag you down. Recognizing their shadow, maybe insecurity, lets you respond with detachment, not frustration. You might listen briefly, then redirect, saying, "Let's focus on solutions." This sets a boundary while staying kind. Jung's concept of projection helps here. You stop taking their negativity personally, seeing it as their shadow's cry. Your own shadow matters too. If you're drained because you fear saying no, facing that fear lets you set limits without guilt. Try practicing. With one vampire, say no to something small, like an extra favor. Notice how it feels. Maybe freeing, maybe scary. That's growth. Over time, these boundaries reshape the dynamic. The vampire might push back, but they'll often move on, seeking energy elsewhere because you're no longer an easy target. Jung believed this work strengthens your psyche, aligning you with individuation. You might even inspire them to face their shadow, though that's a bonus, not your goal. Practical steps build this transformation, limit exposure, shorten interactions, or avoid one-on-one time. Ground yourself before seeing them, maybe with a quick meditation to center your energy. After, reflect, did I hold my boundary? What did I learn? This builds self-trust. Jung's active imagination can reinforce this. Picture the dynamic as a dance, then imagine stepping back, letting them spin alone. This mental shift mirrors real-life change. The collective unconscious adds depth. You're not just transforming one relationship, you're challenging society's patterns, like the myth that you must always help. Over time, you'll feel lighter, with more energy for what matters. Your passions, your loved ones, yourself. You might notice you attract fewer vampires because your strength repels their shadow's pull. This is healing. Not just surviving, but thriving. Imagine a life where draining people don't faze you, because you're rooted in your truth. That's Jung's promise. Try this. Pick one draining dynamic and change one thing this week. Like shortening a call. You're not just protecting energy, you're building a stronger you. So, listener, what's one dynamic you're ready to shift? Let's make it happen. The bigger picture of healing. Let's step back and see the bigger picture. Facing the shadow behind energy vampires is about more than one person. It's about healing your psyche. Jung's goal of individuation is to become whole, integrating your shadow and living authentically. Energy vampires test this journey, pulling you into their unconscious drama. By facing their shadow and yours, you strengthen your center, staying true to yourself no matter who's around. This heals not just one interaction, but how you move through life. Let's say you've always felt drained by a manipulative relative. Recognizing their shadow, maybe a need for control, frees you from guilt. Setting boundaries, like limiting visits, reinforces your worth. Facing your shadow, maybe a fear of being mean, lets you say no with confidence. This builds a psyche that's resilient, not reactive. Jung's concept of the collective unconscious shows this is universal. We all face vampires because we all have shadows. Society's pressure to be good or helpful amplifies these dynamics, but you're breaking that cycle. This healing ripples outward. You might notice you're calmer with everyone, not just the vampire, because you're not carrying their energy. Your relationships improve, attracting people who lift you up, not pull you down. Jung believed this work connects you to humanity's shared journey. By facing shadows, you add light to the collective. Practical steps keep you grounded. Reflect weekly. Who drained me? How did I respond? This tracks your growth. Use Jung's tools, like dreams or journaling, to stay aware. If a vampire's shadow triggers old wounds, a therapist can help, especially one trained in Jungian methods. Over time, you'll feel a shift. Less exhaustion, more clarity. You might even find compassion for the vampire, seeing their struggle without letting it consume you. This isn't about perfection. You'll still meet vampires, but they'll have less power. Imagine a life where you navigate these dynamics with ease, rooted in your truth. That's Jung's vision of healing. A psyche that's whole, not scattered. Try this. Pick one way you've grown from a draining dynamic, like setting a boundary, and celebrate it. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. So listener, what's one sign of healing you've noticed? Let's keep growing. The courage to stay true. Let's wrap up with the courage to keep going, because facing the shadow behind energy vampires is a lifelong practice. Jung's message is about freedom, staying true to yourself even when others' shadows pull at you. This takes guts, because energy vampires can test your resolve. You might set a boundary, only for them to push harder or feel guilty for pulling away. That's okay. Jung said growth happens in the tension. Each time you choose your energy over their shadow, you build strength. Let's say you limit time with a draining friend, and they call you selfish. Your persona might scream, "Be nice," but standing firm is individuation, choosing your truth over their projection. Jung's tools, dreams, journaling, active imagination, keep you steady. Try this. Once a month, reflect on your boundaries. Ask, am I protecting my energy? If not, adjust. Maybe you slipped and overgave. Don't judge, just choose again. Courage means facing setbacks. Some days you'll get pulled into their drama. Jung didn't expect perfection, he wanted progress. Ask, what hooked me? Maybe it's your shadow, like a need to be liked. Seeing it lets you reset. Support helps. A Jungian therapist can guide you through guilt or fear, or a friend can remind you you're not alone. The collective unconscious ties us all to this struggle. Everyone faces shadows, personal and shared. By staying true, you're not just healing, you're adding to humanity's light. Imagine yourself a year from now, navigating vampires with ease, your energy vibrant. Every boundary, every pause builds that future. You'll still meet draining people, but they'll have less power because you're rooted in you. So listener, take a breath. You've got this. Start today. Pick one moment to protect your energy, maybe saying no to a draining request. Jung's wisdom is your map, and I'm rooting for you. You can stay true, but it starts with courage. It's tough, it's real, and it's worth it. So are you ready to keep going? I know you are. Let's do this together.